the way from Minnesota.
Why is that?
I wanted to catch a spark.
If you're traveling in the north.
Welcome to another episode of Movie Review, where I talk about any movie that has anything to do with anything. It can be a movie that has to do with adventure, it can be a movie that has to do with something that has to do with fiction, and it can be movies that are based on history. And today we've got an historical based movie for you. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm your host Patrick, and today we're talking about A Complete Unknown. This movie follows the story of a 19-year-old Bob Dylan who moves to New York and revolutionizes music as history has come to know him to. Without any further ado, let's get into this review.
Country fair.
I say no one wants to hear what a kid wrote last month.
Well, I like your songs.
Where the winds hit heavy on the borderline.
Who wrote this?
Right, so this movie is based in the 1960s. Now, when you tell me that, when I sit on my couch, you pull a movie up in front of me, you tell me this movie is based in an era, one of the first things I'm looking at is like, does this movie look like it was based in that era? I'm looking at the hairstyles, I'm looking at the costumes, I'm looking at the set. I'm looking out for anything that might hint at 2000 and anything. And to be fair, this movie does a great job. The set, the costumes, everything is giving very, very accurate to the era, the time period that the movie is set in. So I love that. I love that. It's a big thing for me. I love that. Don't give me reasons to be asking why I'm seeing things that should not be there based on the time. It was perfect. Another thing that I loved with the cinematography and the edits here was how they integrated real-life Bob Dylan music into the scores. This would be such a fantastic thing for Bob Dylan fans, of which I am not, admittedly. I don't really know Bob Dylan or his music, but I can imagine that for people who are fans of his, some of which I actually spoke to as I watched this movie, it could be such a big thing. It was, just from an artistic point of view, observing it, it was a very interesting thing to see how they infused his music in the scores and in the flow of the story. I mean, when there were sad moments, when there were happy moments, they used his actual songs to actually move the audience's emotions along with the story, which is just an absolute brilliant thing to do. So I feel like cinematography, edit, they did a very good job here.
How about that Joan Baez, folks?
But she's pretty. Sings pretty.
Now, some of you will remember when Timothée Chalamet came out and said that he is in the pursuit of greatness. And it caused a bit of a stir, which I'm not sure why it caused a bit of a stir, because Timothy, bro, I'm in the pursuit of greatness myself. I like, call your shot. But the thing about people who call their shots is that you need to be able to back it up, and Timothy is backing it up. Every time I see him perform now, he's living up to what he said, and his performance here as Bob Dylan was it was pretty good as someone who doesn't even really know Bob Dylan. It was a good performance in and of itself, but then when you check with the critics and then you read about it and then you watch some videos and you see the actual Bob Dylan, you hear some interviews and stuff like that, it fits. Like, you can see the effort that then goes into embodying this character. Timothy's performance, really, really good. And the scenes here, there were a lot of things. So even if you watch this story objectively, you can see that there is a little bit, or not even a little bit, there is a kind of opposition to the switch from, acoustic guitars to electric guitars. And you can see this person of Bob Dylan being the type of person to not really care about the opposition, just doing what he wants. So some of my favorite scenes where that aura of kind of like a renegade, not going to fit into the bubble or the box that people are trying to make for him, deciding for himself that this is what he wants to do, and he's not going to bend because a couple of people say otherwise. And no scene took that more than when he performed with an electric guitar at this big festival, which actually has historical reference. So that was a great scene. That was my favorite scene in this movie.
Your songs are like an oil painting at the dentist's office.
You're kind of an asshole, Bob.
If you go with snowflake storm, where the rivers freeze and summer ends.
For anyone who's gonna hold your attention on stage.
So from all things objective that I could see, this was a great movie. The performances by Timothy especially, really good acting. like. And then you have what they were doing with the scores, and then you have the fact that this movie was very accurate in its depiction of the way people lived in the 1960s, the way they dressed, the way places looked, the overall feel of a 1960-ish type of story. This movie, it served it up really good. I loved that bit. With the cons though, actually for me, if you ask me, I was not really like seeing a lot of things that I could like point out as cons. But like I said, I watched this movie and then spoke to a couple of people who were fans of Bob Dylan, read some stuff about Bob Dylan as well. And some of the people who are fans of Bob Dylan have told me that there are some historical inaccuracies in what was depicted here and in the things that actually played out in real life. Now, I know that this can happen sometimes when you're making movies about things that actually happened. You kind of like want to create something for the drama, because at the end of the day, it's theater, it's film. You need something dramatic, and real life is not always dramatic. But, I feel like if it was enough to cross some of the fans of the person you're actually making a movie about, then there may be an issue. So that was the one con that I had with this movie.
You can be beautiful or you can be ugly, but you can't be plain.
To keep her from the howling winds.
When's the new album out?
Soon. 200 people in that room, and each one wants me to be somebody else. And they should just let me be.
Let you be what?
Whatever it is they don't want me to be.
So it's a great movie, right? And if you're a Bob Dylan fan, you absolutely have to watch this. You will love this. But also, I feel like in 20 years' time, Hollywood will have a star on the Walk of Fame for Timothée Chalamet. Like, he will probably have a star at some point in time. And when you're talking about him in hindsight, when we're talking about him in retrospect, and he's done all these things and he's been in all these movies and he's revered as this, older actor. He's now more of a veteran, or he's an older guy and stuff. I feel like people will talk about this movie as one of his great performances, especially from when he was much younger. So yeah, it's a must watch because of that as well. You're welcome once again for me giving you my opinion on movies that you should see, and I'll catch you next time.
I'm not sure they want to hear what I want to play, Johnny.
I want to hear it.
How does it feel?
Turn it down! Play it loud!
How does it feel
Make some noise, Big D.
to have